Hello everyone, and welcome to the grand finale of Lylat Wars on a Nintendo 64. I'm One Wild Sheep yet again.
Don't relax, we're not done yet. Time to show the monkeys who's boss.
Damn straight. Now this year, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the final stage of Lylat Wars entirely. This is the one of the more difficult stages in the entire game, and the game literally throws everything at you. At this point, the game's basically going to be throwing all of the enemies, all of the lasers, all of the bloody environments. They're going to be throwing everything at you in order to try and stop you from taking down the crazy mad scientist Andross. And this definitely does feel like a very, very, very climactic end game sort of mission. You just going on to the enemy base. We're at the point where we're just taking on the enemy forces at the front lines, blasting straight through towards Andross. And I just absolutely adore this level. It's one of my favorite levels in the whole game. It's such a climactic, climactic battle. Which makes it really a shame that you don't actually get to play this level if you're on the hard route. You can only play this mission if you play on the normal or easy route and you don't get up to Area 6. Basically, whenever you're playing the game, when you play through, basically you're either going to go to the Bolt's defense outpost or you're going to be going to Area 6. And if you go to Area 6, you basically won't be going to this world, ladies and gentlemen, in this level anyway. You'll go to this world, which, it's a bit of a shame, actually. I kind of would have preferred it if they added, maybe a more difficult version of this level, specifically for the hard route, but I don't know. Actually, I think the original Star Wing game did that as well, where different paths and different sort of difficulty final levels. But I digress. But of course, like I said, this is probably going to be one of the harder stages to get through, especially your first time playing through the game, because the game literally throws everything at you. You're going to be barrel rolling left and right, because that's basically the only way to survive in a lot of cases. And of course, the world itself is out to get you as well. It's not just Andross's forces. Oh no, the planet itself just decides to put a giant fuck you rock in front of your flight path as well at times, which can it can be, a little bit annoying. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. Yes.
Those tin cans are no match for me.
Who keeps giving this guy our number? Seriously, Jesus H. Christ. Ugh.
Jeez Louise, what is that?
That would be a giant temple, Falco, and inside the giant temple we go. Now, like I said, we won't be. This is basically we want to normally go to here on the hard route, ladies and gentlemen. So this is an easy route exclusive boss battle, but basically we've got to deal with this golem thing. And all we really need to do whenever we come up to this thing is just dodge the walls that he shoots out, because he's basically going to whack all the walls inside this temple and shoot out pillars that will try to crash, he's basically going to try and make you crash into the walls. So just be careful with where you're flying and just mash the shoot button and all of the rocky bits on his body. And when Slippy eventually gives the health bar pop up on screen, which will be any second now, there we go. I was just about to say, never mind, I'm lying. I thought his health actually didn't go down until later on, but I guess I'm wrong. But basically, you just shoot off all of the rocky parts of his body, which will then expose his weak point, which means you can lay out the beat down on him. And honestly, this boss fight is really, really easy. The whole difficulty of this is just dodging all of the crap he throws at you and whatnot. So, if you're good at flying and good at aiming, this boss fight it'll go down with no problems whatsoever. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? So, hell to the yeah! Really, he's not done yet? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus! Ah! My face! There we go, this should be him done and dusted. He takes a lot of bullets with the last couple of tiny little bit of his health. But yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's not the hardest boss in the world. But from this point onwards, we're actually going to be cutting to the hard route, ladies and gentlemen.
Say your prayers, Andross.
Now, why are we cutting to the hard route for this part of it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, simply because when you play the hard route...
Don't get too cocky, Star Fox.
Let's see how you handle our new ships.
Too bad Dad's not here to see us fail.
Star Wolf returns, so now it's basically our turn to take out Star Wolf a second time with their new outfitted cyborg plates and their new upgraded ships, which all amounts to pretty much nothing. This fight is pretty much identical to the fight from earlier on. The only difference is Star Wolf have a tendency now to use barrel rolls, so you can't actually use your lock-on attacks on them, and they will sometimes deflect attacks. But for the most part, it's still the same old fight we had before. Just lay all the laser fire on them and they will go down no problem. Of course, your teammates are very more likely to be taken down in this match as well, because unfortunately, well, they're a little bit more aggressive. They tend to shoot a little bit more than they used to, but you know, you shouldn't have too much trouble with this, ladies and gentlemen. And this fight doesn't actually show up on the easy route. You need to beat the game in the hard route to fight the second version of Star Wolf. But you know, it's pretty damn dope, what can I tell you? Of course, what's kind of weird is, after I defeat Star Wolf by here, I'm going back to the easy route as well, because there's another boss fight that's exclusive to the easy route that I want to show off. This is why I did this LP in post-commentary and not live, because there is a lot of finicking about in terms of, to show off everything in the game, you literally need to go every single route, and it's a little bit awkward as a result, but you know, basically, Star Wolf, easy peasy lemon squeezy, just lay the beat down and...
You can't beat me! I've got a better ship!
It doesn't matter if you got a better ship, Pigma. All that matters is your skill. If you don't have the skill to meet the ship, then you're screwed, son. You are simply bacon. Oh, I could go to and do some bacon actually now. After I'm done with this recording session, I think I may do that. But there we go. There's Pigma done and dusted. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
I'll go it alone from here.
I've been waiting for you, Star Fox. Know that I control the galaxy. It's foolish to come against me. Die just like your father.
And there we are, now it's time to take on Andross himself. And fun fact, the little pathway heading up to Andross is slightly different on the hard route of the game. For the most part, to deal with Andross by here, you're going to want to start off by shooting him in the eyeballs, and this will make him flinch. When he's rubbing his eyeballs, one of his hands will become vulnerable, and his hands are basically his main weak point. And you're going to want to take out his hands as soon as you can, because they're basically mostly how he's going to attack. Once you've taken down one hand, then the fight gets significantly easier, and you only have to deal one hand for the most part, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out, because he will try to punch you, and he does shoot finger blasts from time to time, but for the most part... Oh, and he tries to slap you. But for the most part, this is a really easy boss fight, and you shouldn't have any trouble whatsoever. Whenever he breathes in like that, he will shoot out a bunch of rocks at you, and you can actually shoot in bombs to stun him temporarily when he does that, but, you know, it's entirely up to you, and you don't need to do it because, well, it's optional. You don't actually need to take him out using the bombs when he breathes in like that. It just makes things a little bit easier for you. But, yeah, once you destroyed his hands, just lay the smack down, and bada bing, bada boom, his mech form will appear. This mech form only appears in the easy part of the game. Just blast him a hell of a lot. But now we are actually on the hard path of the game for Andross yet again, because, well, simply put, the hard path is... It has a different final boss. The final boss is slightly different. And for the most part, you know, you deal with the original boss fight against Andross exactly the same way. But, you know, when you get to dealing with his second phase, things are slightly different. But anyway, on this pathway heading up to the boss fight itself, I do recommend just simply hanging to the left constantly, because you get all of the power-ups that you are going to need in order to take good old Andross down. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. Yes. But yeah, of course, this is just the final boss of the game, and honestly, the final boss is surprisingly easy. Like, this is by far not the hardest boss in the entire game. Of course, I say that, but Phase 2 is significantly harder, but even then, I just don't find Phase 2 or Phase 1 of this final boss to be all that challenging in the grand scheme of things. It's just, I don't know, I just find it really weird. Especially considering, well, actually, I should say that Phase 1 is basically a carbon copy of the final boss from the original Super Nintendo Star Fox game. Except with better graphics, of course, and, even this somehow manages to be a little bit easier on the original Super Nintendo version, and I don't know how, I don't know what they did to change it, but it's a little bit easier. But either way, like I said, when he's sucking in, you can throw a bomb at him, and it'll make this quite hilarious effect. What can I tell you? And with that, he is done and dusted for the Phase 1 for the second time.
Only I have the brains to rule Lylat.
So, Andross, you show your true form.
Alright, it's time to take this Brainiac out. Now, Andross' final form by here, even though he's just basically a giant brain, you gotta watch out because he will shoot his eyeballs out during the course of the scenery, and I'd sort of recommend just dealing with his eyeballs first in order to get them off the battlefield, because they will become a massive distraction as you're trying to fight him. Whenever you destroy the eyeballs, then you basically need to aim for the very back of his brain, and it's like this. It looks kind of like a tumor. I don't actually know what it is. I don't know if it's an actual thing on a real person's brain or not, but basically you go to the back of his brain, and there's like a hard bit that you need to shoot with your lasers and take them out, and that's basically all there is to it. The boss fight itself is fairly simple when you get the hang of things, and you're not very likely to die unless you're an idiot. Like me! Which means you're going to fly right into his tentacles. And if you go into Andross' tentacles, that does massive, and I mean massive damage. And I'm actually surprised it didn't lose my wings there, because usually if you go into the tentacles, it automatically means you're going to lose your wings, and the boss fight will just take that much longer to beat, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But generally, I quite enjoy this boss fight. It's just, I don't know, I think it just could have been done better, you know, ladies and gentlemen. It just feels not feels, but it just seems like a really wonky boss battle to me, but I don't know. And depending on how badly you fight, like I'm playing quite terribly by here, the boss fight can go on for quite a while as well, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And if the brain itself actually rams you, you will lose your wings, and you will take a hell of a lot of damage as well, so you do need to be careful of that. And, actually I say that, but how does that hurt you so much? Because brains are generally squishy and soft, aren't they? Like, why does this hurt the R-Wing so much? What's his brain made out of? Nintendium? Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. His brain's made out of Nintendium. What can I tell you? Hoi. But basically, yeah, it's gonna be, it can be quite a bit tricky to deal with Andross by here. And the way I sort of, a good little bit of advice I can say to use with this boss is, whenever you are fighting when you're fighting him, keep an eye on the little radar at the bottom right of the screen, where the boss B symbol is, and on the bigger part of the B, that's basically the back of his head, which means that's what you're going to be aiming for, so you can sort of use that to your advantage in order to try and position yourself in quite the right way in order to damage him, you know, ladies and gentlemen. At least that's what I think anyway. I don't know, I always get really confused, because sometimes it appears like the big part of the B is the back of his head, and sometimes the lower one is. Maybe the mini-map of the bottom screen isn't the most accurate thing in the world. That could be just the case, but there we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Self-destruct? Oh, we did.
Don't ever give up, my son.
Father?
Follow me, Fox.
And there we go, it's time for the final stretch goal of the game. We've beaten Andross, beaten the final boss, so now all we gotta do is get out of this tube before we die. If we're too slow by here, we will explode and we will die. You need to follow Fox's father and take the exact same route as him, and you need to try and keep up and boost and basically at a constant pace in order to get out of here. This is extremely easy to fluff up and extremely easy to mess up, so be careful with that. Just keep an eye on Andross. Keep an eye on Fox's father at all times, and just be sure you're not too slow, and you should be fine getting through this, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But, I don't understand why we can't just take the same route to leave as we did to get in, because I just sort of took rights every time I came. Well, I took lefts even every time I came in to fight Andross, so couldn't I theoretically just take lefts all the way out? I don't know. But either way, victory is ours.
You've become so strong, Fox.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo. On the Nintendo 64, Lylat Wars is done and dusted, and ultimately, I love this game. This is an absolutely fantastic time that I would heavily recommend anybody go out of their way to play. This is a classic N64 title that holds up extremely well even today. It has fantastic soundtrack. I love the art design. I love the characters and all of the dialogue in the game. Everything about this game just oozes quality, and I would basically anybody who doesn't like this game, the only thing I can say to them is, what are you, stupid? This game's a classic. But of course, then again, if you don't like this game, that is your own opinion, so I can't really fault that, but that's another thing entirely. Anyway, with that has been the LP, so thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't be sheepish, people, and I'll leave you off with the final credit sequence of the game. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye!
Way to go, Fox!
That's our leader. Star Fox, we are in your debt. I would be honored to have you as part of the Cornerian...
Oh no, sir. We prefer doing things our own way.
Great Fox is ready to go.
It's time for us to go now.
What?